and capital maintenance. And now we will see one by one the scope of conceptual framework in detail. So the objective of financial statement is actually to give the complete understanding of financial information to the users. So before we get into the objective in detail, what is actually a financial statement? What it includes? So the elements of financial statement is on your screen right now, which is talking about the statement of financial position, which is in layman terms we all know is a balance sheet. So guys, very important that in international context, now we will many a time will refer SOFP, which is as good as a balance sheet. In international context, the income statement is called as statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. And in short form, we mention it as SOCI and refer it as SOCI many a times. Then we have statement of change in equity, SOCE, statement of cash flow, and notes. Notes which includes a summary of significant accounting policies, and also there are other explanatory material. So this is a very important slide because this talks about that what is called as a complete set of financial statement. Now let's move to the scope of conceptual framework, wherein the objective of journal purpose financial reporting is to provide information about the reporting entity that is useful to the existing and potential investors, lenders, and other creditors in making decisions about providing resources to the entity. The qualitative characteristic or the fundamental qualitative characteristic of conceptual framework, wherein the financial statement should provide the information which is more relevant. It talks about the nature and materiality and faithful presentation. So faithful presentation refers to when the financial statement should be complete, they are neutral, and they should be free from error. It also includes the substance over form. So as we know, guys, there are standards which is on substance over form, wherein we need to analyze a transaction on the basis of its substance, not on the basis of the legal form or not on the basis how it look like. As we all know, the lease accounting, being an accountant, the lease accounting is a concept of substance over form. The qualitative characteristic, to enhance this characteristic, it also includes a comparability, verifiability, timeliness, and understandability of financial statement. Under the conceptual framework, the underlying assumption is going concern. By this assumption, we mean to say that an entity will continue to operate for the foreseeable future. Whenever we are preparing financial statement and we're running our business, it's always with this assumption that we are running our business with a long-term, project or perspective. Therefore, there is no intention and need to liquidate and curtail significantly the scale of operation. And if that would be the case, it means that there is a question on going concern. Now, what are the elements of financial statement? So we have the elements of financial statement, which is asset, liability, and equity, which are reflected in our statement of financial position. And in SOCI, which is income statement, we have income and expenses. Under the conceptual framework, it also talks about the recognition. So what is this recognition? Recognition refers to incorporating into statement of financial position or statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income an item that meets the definition of an element. So if you need to recognize a fixed asset, which is in international context we called as property, plant and equipment, then that should meet the definition of property, plant and equipment. and it's not only definition, but it should also satisfy the recognition criteria. So wherein this recognition criteria is that it is probable that a future economic benefit will flow to the entity, and the item has a cost or a value that can be measured with reliability. So this gonna help us to get the understanding of recognition in each and every standard. So this is very important to note down that the recognition criteria is very important and change from standard to standard. Moving to the measurement principle. So measurement under the conceptual framework is a process of determining the monetary amount at which the element of financial statement are to be recognized and carried in statement of financial position and SOCI, which is statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. So we have the measurement basis. This measurement is based on either historical cost, it can be on current cost, realizable or the settlement value, present value, and fair value. So we will eventually see how these measurement bases are used. For the time being, let me talk about like historical cost. So we use this historical cost many a times when we refer or adopt a cost model under the the recognition of property, plant and equipment, or maybe for the recognition of the measurement of intangible asset. Current cost is the cost which is when we evaluate and which is equal to the acquired value of an asset. Realizable is the value which we generally use in IAS 2. Inventory. So inventory, we all know, we realize and we account for inventory under the method of lower of cost or the net realizable value. Present value is also used, and this we will see under the provision and contingent liability and contingent asset, wherein we use the present value for the measurement basis. And the fair value is an interesting concept. It has recently come into the picture. So let's understand this measurement basis one by one. Historical cost. Under the historical cost, the assets amount is measured on the basis of the amount paid or the fair value which is given to acquire them at the time of acquisition. And under the historical cost, the liability is the amount which is received in exchange for the obligation and the amount which is expected to be paid to satisfy the obligation in the normal course of business. So historical cost is the cost basis, as the name suggests. Moving to the current cost. So the current cost, wherein the cost of asset is the amount that would have to be paid to acquire the same or an equivalent asset currently. For the current cost of a liability, it is the undiscounted amount required to settle the obligation currently. So this undiscounting amount refers to when we need not to apply the time value of money. So that is basically, refers under the current cost. We also have the measurement basis, which could be on the basis of realizable or the settlement value. So the amount that could currently be obtained by selling the asset in an ordinary disposal, then that is realizable value. For the liabilities at the settlement date, herein we use the undiscounted amount expected to be paid to satisfy the liability. Present value concept actually brings the discounting value into picture. So when we are calculating an item under the present value of any asset, then we calculate the present discounted value of future net cash inflow that the item is expected to generate. And for the liabilities, it is the present discounted value of future net cash outflow expected to be required to settle the liability. So the present value is based on cash inflow and cash outflow, wherein we take into account the time value of money or the discounting factor. Coming to the fair value, and it's very important because when actually initially the framework documentation was first issued, the concept of fair value was not widely used and it was not incorporated in the framework. But over the past few years, the use of fair value in the accounting has become far more widespread. And that is why when the International Accounting Standard Board issued a new standard that fulfilled the requirement and allowed the use of fair value, and initially there was no consistency between each standard as how the fair value should be measured, and that's why in May 2011 International Accounting Standard Board issues IFRS 13, which is fair value measurement, as the reference point for any asset or liability that need to be measured at fair value. So under the conceptual framework, after understanding the measurement basis, let's move to the concept of capital. So under the concept of capital, we have two concepts. Financial concept, which is like capital or the money which we have invested in is synonym with the net asset. So where a net asset is asset minus liability. Or you can see the same amount which is equal to equity. So the financial concept is the concept of net asset or equity. On the other hand, we also have a physical concept of capital, which is based on the operating capability. So capital is regarded as productive capacity, which is based on the operating capability. For example, unit of output per day. And that's mainly applicable or used and applied in manufacturing industry, though the service industries can also use it. So these two concepts give rise to the concept of capital maintenance. So under capital maintenance, for the financial capital maintenance, it is the concept where is profit is earned only if the financial, or we can say the money, amount of net assets at the end of the period exceed the amount of net asset at the beginning of the period. Under the physical capital maintenance is the profit when earned only if the physical productive capacity, or we can say the operating capability of an entity at the end of the period is greater than and exceed the physical productive capacity at the beginning of the period. So both concepts can be measured in either nominal monetary units or unit of content purchasing power. Physical capital maintenance requires that the current cost be adopted as the basis of measurement, whereas financial capital maintenance does not call for any particular measurement basis. We are done with the conceptual framework, and I'm sure that help you to understand that what are the basic and underlying concept when we create and frame the financial statement and we do the presentation of the financial statement. Moving to the list of all international accounting standard and IFRS. So herein guys, if you can refer that there are certain IAS which is mentioned with red, and the status is saying they has been superseded. So either they have been superseded with new IFRS, or they may have superseded due to and get merged into an existing international accounting standard. So first we have IAS 1, which is presentation of financial statement. It still exists. It talks about the how the financial statement it contains the definition of current assets, current liability, the definition and what the contents of financial statements, SOFP, SOCI and all. Then we have IAS 2 inventories, IAS 3, which is Consolidated Financial Statement, got superseded by IAS 27 and IAS 28. IAS 4, which was on depreciation accounted, got superseded and get added into IAS 16, which is on property, plant and equipment. IAS 5, the information to be disclosed in financial statement. This also got superseded, and the information related to this is now under IAS 1, which is presentation of financial statement. IAS 6, accounting responses to changes prices. This also got superseded in IAS 15. However, accounting standard setters realize that there is no need for any standard which is going to talk about the effect of changing prices. So they also redundant IAS 15. You will eventually see on the next slide that under IAS 15 it is not applicable anywhere. Then we have IAS 7, statement of cash flow. IAS 8, very important standard because it really helped to frame the accounting policies if there is no existing accounting for any particular accounting issue or accounting topic. Change in accounting estimates and error. IAS 9 is accounting for research and development activity, which also got superseded and get incorporated under IAS 38, which is intangible assets. We have IAS 10, event after reporting period. IAS 11 is on construction contract, and this got superseded, and we have IFRS 15 now in place, which is contract with customers, or the elaborative name is revenue from the contract with customers. IAS 12 is on income taxes, still exists, wherein we will talk about and refer the creation of DTA DTL. IAS 13 is the presentation of current assets and current liabilities, and this got superseded, and this concept is now under IAS 1. IAS 14, which was on segment reporting, got superseded, and now we have IFRS 8 in place. IAS 15, I already talked about it. It is information reflecting the effect of changing prices has got redundant. IAS 16 is on property, plant and equipment. And guys, very important, I already told you that in international context, now we don't call it anything as fixed asset actually. Technically, the name of fixed asset is property, plant and equipment. Sometimes we use abbreviation as PP&E. IAS 17 was in lease. IAS 18 was revenue, which is also, which got superseded because of the introduction of IFRS 15. Very important that the implementation and the mandatory implementation of IFRS 15 is from 1st January 2018. We have IAS 19, which is employee benefit. IAS 20, accounting for government grants and disclosure of government existence. IAS 21 is the effect of changing foreign exchange rates. It still exists. And maybe, few people who already know about the accounting standard of India, though, we used to have AS 11 on the same topic. IAS 21 is on business combination. This got superseded with the introduction of IFRS 3. IAS 23 is on borrowing cost, which still exists, and it talks about the capitalization of interest cost if that cost is incurred on a qualifying asset. We have IAS 24, related party disclosures. IAS 25 was on accounting for investment, and this is very important to note down that IAS 25, which was on accounting for investment, got superseded and get bifurcated into various international accounting standard and IFRS. So now for investment accounting, either we need to go in IAS 39, financial instrument, IFRS 9, which is also financial instrument, or maybe IAS 40, which is investment property. IAS 26 is on accounting and reporting by retirement benefit plans. IAS 27 is consolidated and separate financial statement. However, I would like to highlight here that the name is consolidated in a separate financial statement and it still exists, but the name has been changed to separate financial statement now because for consolidated financial statement we have IFRS 10 in place. Then we have IAS 28, which is investment in associates. When so in layman way we can say as an accountant that when there is a significant influence that leads to investment in associate, and that can be seen from the percentage holding also, which may fall from 20 to 50%. We have IAS 29, which is financial reporting in hyperinflationary economy. This is like as in Greece. So hyperinflationary economies are the economies where the economic condition or the currency situation of any particular country is not well going on. IAS 30, which is disclosure and financial statements of banks and similar financial instruments, got superseded, and now we have this information under IFRS 7, which is disclosure, financial statement instrument disclosure. Moving to IAS 31, interest in joint venture got superseded, and we have IFRS 11, 11 in place, which is joint arrangements. IAS 32, financial instrument presentation. This is very important to note down here that the financial instrument presentation IAS 32 is basically when we need to see the financial instrument from the perspective of issuer, or we can say from the perspective of entity. So when an entity issues either equity or bonds or debentures, then the accounting related to it need to refer under Financial Instrument Presentation IAS 32. IAS 33 or disclosure standard, which is earning per share. IAS 34 is another reporting standard or disclosure standard, which is interim financial reporting. IAS 35 is on discontinued operation, and it got superseded because of the introduction of IFRS 5, which is non-current asset held for sale and discontinued operation. IAS 36 is impairment of assets. IAS 37 is provision, contingent liability and contingent assets. IAS 38 is on intangible assets. IAS 39 is financial instrument recognition and measurement. So this will be eventually superseded, guys, not right now. And this is not containing much part as of now. It's only talk about hedge accounting, and that to macro hedge accounting, because rest of the stuff has been moved from IAS 39 to IFRS 9. We have IAS 40, investment property, which talks about land and building, special accounting for land and building, which is for capital appreciation and for rental to others. IAS 41 is on agriculture. So this was the list of all international accounting standard. Moving to the list of IFRS. So it is on your, the slide says IFRS 1 is first time adoption. We also talk about in our presentation. IFRS 2 is on share-based payment. So the share-based payment as a beginners or as an accountant, this is, this also talks about ESOP, employee stock option plan. IFRS 3 is on business combination. IFRS 4 is very specific, industry specific standard, which is insurance contract. IFRS 5 is non-current asset held for sale and discontinued operation. IFRS 6 is exploration for and evaluation of mineral resources. That's on coal mines and all. So this is also an industry specific standard. IFRS 7 is financial instrument disclosures. IFRS 8 is on operating segment. IFRS 9 is financial instruments. We have IFRS 10, which is consolidated financial statement. IFRS 11 is joint arrangement. IFRS 12 is disclosure of interest in other entities. So it is basically the disclosure related to all financial instruments. IFRS 13, I also talked about it. It is fair value measurement. IFRS 14 is regulatory deferral accounts. And IFRS 15, I told you that this is a standard because of which the two international accounting standard got superseded, which is IAS 11 construction contract and IAS 18 revenue recognition. So now we have IFRS 15, which is revenue from contract with customers. So to ensure the complete understanding and the knowledge of the IFRS world, we have to understand the existing each IAS and IFRS and also the upcoming IFRS. And that is how, through our respective and further sessions, we will pick one by one the important standards or technical standards, and we will deep dive into those standards to understand the related accounting related to that accounting topic. So thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy your happy learning with IACT, and now let's move to the Q&A session.